मुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोकिर्भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Dear devotees, doing Bhakti Vallabh with Mayapur Institute, you are welcome for continuity of our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 16. How Parikshat received the age of Kali. So, in this chapter 16, the first section we have finished is Parikshat as an ideal ruler punishes Kali. So, in this section we have discussed the rule of Kali, rule of Parikshat, marriage of Parikshat, then sacrifices done by Parikshat, and then chastising the Kali. And on that, the next section from 5 to 9, Saunak Rishi asked the question, why Kali was not killed when he has conquered the Kali. So, in this 16th chapter, the first section is the Parikshat as an ideal ruler. So his rule, his marriage, his sacrifices, and his conquering the time, Kali Yuga. And then next section 5 to 9, which we have already discussed, Saunak Rishi, as Shanak and other rishis, they were a little curious that why Parikshat did not kill this Kali Yuga. And if it has any relation with Krishna, then please narrate this whole pastime. And then the third section which we were discussing, which we started already in one sense, from 10 to 17, from verse number 10 to 17, Srila Suta Goswami described the movements of the Parikshat as a conqueror. This, which means Parikshat's Digvijay. Parikshat's Digvijay. Dig means direction, Vijay means conquering. So why Parikshat was doing Digvijay? Not just for aggrandizement, as Srila Prabhupada wrote. It is to see whether the dharma is followed by the people or not. Because the symptom of Kali Yuga were seen infiltrating the kingdom, so he was very much worried about the welfare of the citizens. So this section we will discuss today, and then from 18 to 24. So during the world conquering mission at the bank of Saraswati, which is actually in Kurukshetra, he met the bull, white bull, just broken leg and a very weak crying cow, and they were talking, and he asked from them. Actually, he was listening. The bull in the form of Dharma was asking question from grieving cow or Dharani. And the last section, which goes from 25 to 36, Mother Earth actually described the pain of separation from Krishna, and therefore there are all disturbances, and she was lamenting. So this is the total breakdown of this chapter. So we have already covered up till verse 10. So we are starting from verse number 11 onward. Swalankritam Shyam Turanga Yojitam Ratham Mrgendra Dhvajam Ashritah Pura Vrto Ratha Swaha Dvipapati Yuktaya Swasenaya Digvijaya Nirgataha. So Swalankrita, so beautifully decorated Shwamatrunga, the black horses of the chariot, and the Ratham Mrigendra, and the flag of the chariot of Maharaj Parikshit is loin, Dvajam. And Srila Prabhupada is comparing the chariot of Parikshit Maharaj with the chariot of Arjuna. And it was surrounded by the other Ratha, Ashwa Dveja, Vrito means surrounded by, Dveja Patihi, Yuktaha, Dvepapati Yuktaha. Dvepapati means he was the emperor of the whole island. Sway Senaya, with his own army. So Maharaj Parikshit sat on a chariot drawn by black horses. His flag was marked with the sign of loin. Being so decorated and surrounded by charioteers, chivalry, elephants and infantry soldiers, he left the capital to conquer in all directions. So when Parikshit was inspecting his kingdom, protected by his troops, hearing the rather unpleasant news that Kali had entered, he took up his bow. It was somewhat pleasant also, since he had the opportunity to punish him. This expression is used to make it subject of discussion later. This sentence is connected with the next verse. Shaundi means skillful. And okay, so this is like a sportman spirit of Parikshit Maharaj, that he has a opportunity now to fight. So Srila Prabhupada compare the Maharaj Parikshit is distinguished from his grandfather Arjun for black horses pulling his chariot instead of white horses. So Arjun has white horses. His flag is a lion. Arjun's flag was the Hanumanji. A royal procession like that of Maharaj Parikshit, surrounded by well-decorated chariots, chivalry, elephant, infantry, band not only to pleasing to the eyes, but also a sign of civilization. There is aesthetic even on fighting front. So Prabhupada says even fighting is also pleasing, because the civilization has a beautiful scene. So which places he visited? Bhadrashvam Ketumalam cha Bhartam cha Uttram Kurun Kim Purushadini Varshani Vijitta Jigrahe Balim. So this we are living in Jambu Dweep, or island Jambu. There are other islands. Bhadravarsh is an island, Ketumal is an island, and the Kim Purusha is, these are the Varsas, these are the Varsas within Jambu Deep. So he has visited these Varsas. Generally these tract of land are not visible. They are called Bhaumaswarga. Bhaumaswarga means the heaven on the earth. So Maharaj Parikshit then conquered all parts of the earthly planet. Say Bhadravarsh, Ketumal, Bharat, North Kuru and Kim Purusha. And he extracted tributes from their respective rulers. So Srila Prabhupada has given the little description of each verse as it is described in Mahabharata. But most of these verses are described in 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in detail, and in all these verses are tract of land. Lord Vishnu is worshipped, and they all are in Jambu Deep. 8 are called Bhaumaswarga, or heaven on earth, where people over 10,000 years live there peacefully without old age, disease and death. So after 10,000 years, they just get one son, something. So these are very special places. So Srila Prabhupada has given little information of these different varshas, which means tract of land. So I think that is just sort of information that you can read. There is a Meru mountain, and these mountains separate these islands in Jambu Deep. So Bharatvarsh, this part of the world, is also one of the 9 varshas of the Jambu Deep. The Jambu Deep has a 9 tract of lands. separated by the different mountains. We live in Jambu Deep. So description of Bharatvarsh is in the Mahabharata, Bhisham Parv. But the description of Bharatvarsh is also in Bhagavatam 5th canto. So in Jambu Deep, say in the center of Jambu Deep is Ilavartvarsh, where Lord Shankar and Parvati they worship the Sankarshan. And south of Ilavartvarsh is Harivarsh. And a Harivarsh Narsinghdev is worshipped by Prahlad Maharaj. The description of these verses is given in Mahabharata as well as in Bhagavatam. So these are the different names of these verses in Mahabharata. It is mentioned here that the women in both these verses are beautiful and some of them are equal to Apsaras or heavenly women. So this verse, the women of these verse, Ketumal verse, the women are most beautiful in Ketumal verse. Okay, this is just a sort of information. Uttar Kuru, according to Vedic geography, northernmost portion of the Jambuti is called Uttar Kuru verse. It's surrounded by the saltwater ocean and three sides divided by the Shringavan mountain from the Hiranyamaya verse. There's another verse is called Hiranyamaya verse. Kim Purush verse is a Hanuman worshipping Lord Ramchandra. This is also described in our Bhagavatam 5th canto 18 and 19 chapters. So Kim Purushas are descendant of daughter of Daksha. When Maharaj Yudhishthira performed his horse sacrifice yajna, they all also came from these different verses to take part in that festival, and they paid tributes to the Maharaj Emperor Parikshit. Okay. The Himalayan province, this is Prabhupada, right? Kim Purush verse, or sometimes the Himalayan province called Himvan. It's also said Sukhdev Goswami was born in these Himalayan provinces, and that he came to Bharatvarsh after crossing the Himalayan mountain. In other words, Maharaj Parikshit conquered all world. He conquered all the continents adjoining all these seas and oceans in all directions, namely the eastern, western, northern, southern parts of the world. So these are the different verses of the Jambu Deep. And next verse describe, and this verse 15 and 14 describe actually, wherever Maharaj Parikshit visited, the people there were glorifying the Pandavas and the relation with Krishna and the wonderful actually work done by the Pandavas for the citizen in general, and that was very enlivening to Maharaj Parikshit, and he was very happy. And usually when otherwise I speak in this section, it is like that if our forefathers do some welfare work or is spiritual work, they build some temples, some hospitals, some other, say, guest house, something for the people, then the generation coming will feel proud and people will be glorifying the dynasty. See, this is the verse. Tatra tatra upashranvanta, wherever he went, he heard. Swapurvesham Mahatmana, the greatness and glories of his forefathers. Parigyamanam cha yashaha, and their glories. Krishna Mahatmya Shuchakam, it was because of the, say actually, glory of Lord Krishna, because Krishna was very dear to the Pandavas. So this whole wonderful description in the verses. However, wherever king visited, he continuously heard the glories of his great forefathers, who were all devotees of Krishna, Lord, and also of the glorious act of Lord Krishna. He also heard how he himself had been protected by Lord from the powerful heat of weapon of Ashwasthama. People also mention the great affection between the descendant of Vrishni and Pritha, due to later's great devotion to Lord Krishna. The king, being very pleased with the singers, it means the singers who were glorifying the glories of the Pandavas and Krishna, they are usually called these Charan and Bhatt, they are special singers, opened his eyes in a great satisfaction. Out of magnanimity, he was pleased to award them very valuable necklaces and clothing, which means he gave them gift. Srila Prabhupada's purport is how the welcome address is given to the people in olden days and how people are welcoming the present day. So Prabhupada's purport is about welcome address. Kings and great personalities of the state are presented with welcome addresses. This is the system from time immemorial. And Maharaj Parikshit, since he was one of the well-known emperors of the all part of the world, as he visited those places, the subject matter of those welcome addresses was Krishna. Krishna means Krishna is an eternal devotee, as the king means king and his confidential associates. So this is the side of Krishna means Krishna as devotees. And analogy is king means king and his entourage. Krishna as an allied devotees cannot be separated, and therefore glorifying the devotee means glorifying the Lord and vice versa. Maharaj Parikshit would not have been glad to hear about the glories of forefathers like Maharaj Yudhishthira and Arjuna had they not been connected with the act of Lord Krishna. So this is Krishna Sambandha, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhi. The Lord descends specifically to deliver his devotees, Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya. The devotees are glorified by the presence of the Lord, because they cannot live for a moment without the presence of the Lord and his different energies. Devotees cannot live without Lord or his different energies. The Lord is present for the devotee by his acts and glories, and therefore Maharaj Parikshit felt presence of Lord when he was glorified by his acts, especially when he was saved by Lord in the womb of his mother. So when somebody glorifies Supreme Lord and we hear it, it means we really are in presence of the Lord. That's what it means. It reminds us, and in our memory is enriched with the presence of the Lord. The devotees of Lord are never in danger, but in a material world which is full of danger at every step, padam padam yadavipadim, the devotees are apparently placed into dangerous position. This is a nice line. And when they are saved by the Lord is glorified. Lord Krishna would not have been glorified as the speaker of Bhagavad Gita had his devotees like Pandava not been entangled in battle of Kurukshetra. It means by putting Pandavas in difficulty of battle of Kurukshetra, the speaking Bhagavad Gita become glorious. All such acts of Lord were mentioned in the addresses of welcome. And Maharaj Parikshit in full satisfaction rewarded those who presented such addresses. The difference between the presentation welcome address today and in those days is that formerly the welcome address were presented to a person like Maharaj Parikshit. The welcome address was full of facts and figures, and those who presented such addresses were sufficiently rewarded. Whereas in the present days, the welcome address are presented not always with factual statements, but to please the post holder, and often they are full of flattering lies. And rarely are those who present such welcome addresses rewarded by the poor receiver. So now we are going to the next verse. What actually was the glorification presented or the drama enacted by the people to please Parikshit when he was on Digvijay? Sarthya Parshadha Swena Sakhya Dautya. These are the all relation of Krishna with the Pandavas. Sarthya, he was the chariot driver. Parshad, he was their messenger. Sevan Sakhya Dautya, he was even sometime protecting them. He was acting as their Dautya, means as their messenger again. Veera Asanam, he was sometime standing behind the, say, in front of the Pandava's shiver and was protecting it particularly. This is called Virasan Anugam. Virasan means like a watchman. Stavan pranamam snigdasya pandu sujagat pranitam cha Vishnu. Here Vishnu means Krishna. Bhaktim karoti narpatis charanar vinde. Maharaj Parikshit heard that out of his causeless mercy, Lord Krishna, Vishnu, who is universally obeyed, rendered all kind of service to the malleable son of Pandu by accepting posts ranging from chariot driver to president to messenger to friend, night watchman, etc. Virasan is night watchman. According to the will of the Pandavas, obeying them like a servant and offering obeisance like one younger in years. When he heard this, Maharaj Parikshit became overwhelmed with the devotion to the lotus feet of Lord. So Lord Krishna is everything to the unalloyed devotee like Pandavas. The Lord was for them the Supreme Lord, the spiritual master, the worshipable deity, the guide, the chariot driver, the friend, the servant, the messenger, and everything they could conceive of. And thus the Lord also reciprocated the feeling of Pandavas. Maharaj Parikshit, the pure devotee of the Lord, could appreciate the Lord's transcendental reciprocation feeling of his devotees. And thus he himself was also overwhelmed with dealing of Lord. Simply by appreciating the dealing of Lord with his pure devotees, one can attain salvation. What is this? What Prabhupada is lying this line? Simply by appreciating the dealing of Lord with his devotees, one can attain salvation. Lord's dealing with his devotees appear to be ordinary human dealing, but one who knows them in truth become at once eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. This, anybody can guess which verse Srila Prabhupada is quoting here? Yes? Can somebody guess the verse? The first verse of the first word of the verse is not paraphrased. The second line of the verse is paraphrased, second word. I'm just giving hint. Most of the cameras are off. Is it okay? This verse is Janma Karam cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti suarjana. 4:9 Bhagavad Gita. The dealing of Krishna with pure devotees means karma of Krishna, Janma Karma. Divyam in truth means in essence, and they go back to Godhead. That is what they actually, this is the verse Srila Prabhupada's. The verse is in Srila Prabhupada's mind, and he is paraphrasing the verse. The Pandavas were so malleable to the will of the Lord that they could sacrifice any amount of energy for the service of the Lord, and by such unalloyed determination, they could secure the Lord's mercy in any shape they desired. Malleable word is for Sanskrit. This is the Sanskrit word for malleable. Snigdheshu. The word snigdha is in Sanskrit is like oil. So oil can be molded in any way. So the Pandavas is completely malleable to the will of Lord. So snigdha is an actual word in Sanskrit. Tasyaivam vartamanasyaha purvesham vritamanvaham nati dure kilascharyam yadasit tannibodhame. Now you may hear from me of what happened while Maharaj Parikshit was passing his days, hearing of the good occupation of his forefathers and being absorbed in that thought of them. So now is coming a next section, which is from verse 18 onward. So we are reaching to the next section now. Chakravarti writes, hearing the activities such as being charioteer for the dear Pandavas and hearing that the whole world offer respect to him, Parikshit showed devotion to Lord. Krishna acted as follower by presiding over the assembly. He acted as a servant by satisfying their wishes, such as staying up at night with his sword in hand, protecting them. Now, this is the next section. At the place where Saraswati is going towards eastward, something like that, and that is the place is called Kurukshetra. Dharmaha padaikena charana vichayam upalabhyagam prachati smaresho vadanam vivatsam eva mataram. So this is the new scene. The personality of religious principle, Dharma, was wandering about in form of bull. And it says Padayakam. The word is Dharma Padayaken Charan. Padayaken means with a 1 foot only. It means 3/4 of his strength of the leg was destroyed by Kali. And he made the personality of Artha in the form of cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus Dharma questioned the earth as follows. Now from verse 18, Dharma in the form of bull is asking Mother Cow about her suffering of the Mother Earth. So the extra Anu should add it. Thus every day he followed the procedure. Okay, now the bull is the emblem of moral principle. Bull is the emblem of moral principle, and the cow is representative of earth. When the bull and cow are in joyful mood, Prabhupada is coming to the cow protection. It is to be understood that the people of the world are also in joyful mood. The reason is that the bull helps production of grains in the agriculture field. This is the word father. And the cow delivers milk, the miracle of aggregate food values. The human society therefore maintain these two important animals very carefully so that they can wander everywhere in cheerfulness. But at the present moment, in this age of Kali, both the bull and the cows are now being slaughtered and eaten up as foodstuff by a class of men who do not know the Brahminical culture. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of the human society simply by spreading Brahminical culture. Now Prabhupada is coming to the Go Brahman Hitaya. Brahminical culture also, as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. By advancement of such culture, the moral of society is properly maintained, and so peace and prosperity are also attained without external effort. When Brahminical culture deteriorates, the cows and bulls are mistreated, and the resultant actions are prominent by the following symptoms. Now these are the symptoms which are seen on the earth. So Dharma Uvacha means now Dharma is asking, Kechid bhadre anamayam atmanaste vichasya vichayasi malayate sham mukkhena alakshahe bhavati mantar adhim dure bandhum sochasi kanchanamba. So Dharma in the form of bull asks, Madam, Mother Earth, are you not hell and hearty? Why are you covered with the shadows of grief? It appears by your face that you have become black. Are you suffering from some internal disease? Or are you thinking of some relative who is away in the distant place? And Dharma, moving about on one leg, seeing a cow with no effulgence and with tears in her eyes, and if she had lost her calf. So this is a previous verse in Chakravarti Pad's commentary. So the moment that Kali Yuga had started, the Dharma, the earth and the Kali appeared in this situation. So this is a very nice and informative purport by Chakravarti Pad. Though this was not seen by people, Parikshat, who meditated with desire to see this, saw it with his mystic eyes. Dharma in the form of bull asked question to the cow who had lost her effulgence, which I am. So the Chakravarti Path says it's not that the bull, cow and Kali can be seen by the people in general. But Parikshat Maharaj was so qualified that he has understood the language of the bull and he understood what he was asking from the cow by his supernatural spiritual powers, which is said by his mystic eyes. He can see, he can hear. So this is one of the extraordinary quality of a devotee. Then he can. So Srila Prabhupada's purport says the people of the world in this age of Kali are always full of anxieties. Everyone is diseased with some kind of ailment. So it's a Mother Earth's disease means the people in Kali Yuga living on the earth are sick. Every day there is a new hospital coming and the opening of a new hospital. It's not some good thing for inauguration. This means suffering increasing. From the very face of the people of this age, one can find the index of mind. The face is the index of mind. So you can see how people are in anxiety. Everyone feels the absence of the relative who is away from home. Yes, particular symptom of the age of Kali is that no family is now blessed to live together. To earn a livelihood, the father lives at a place far away from the son, wife lives away from the husband, and so on. This is very common. There are suffering from internal diseases, separation from those near and dear, anxieties for maintaining the status quo. These are but some important factors which make the people of this age always unhappy. So the earth is unhappy means the people living on the earth are unhappy. Next verse. Pade nyonam sochasi naika maika padam. Are you worried because I am just hobbling on one leg? This is your, his question is, I have lost my 3 legs and this is 3/4 actually of the 4 legs. I have lost my 3 legs and am now standing on 1 leg. Are you lamenting for my state of existence? Or are you in great anxiety because henceforward the unlawful meat eater will exploit you? Or are you in sorry plight because the demigods are now bereft of their share of sacrificial offering, because no sacrifice are being performed at present? Or are you grieving for giving living being because of their suffering due to famine and drought? So these are the calamities which are on the earth because of the Kali Yuga. With the progressive age of Kali, 4 things particularly. Now, what will increase when the age of Kali increases? Prabhupada writes 4 things. Particularly, namely, duration of life, mercy, people will be merciless, die early, power of recollection means their memory will be diminished, and 4, moral or religious principle. There will be no morality and no spirituality. 4 things are first which diminishes in the age of Kali on the planet Earth. Since dharma or principle of religion would be the last in proportion of 3 out of the 4. The symbolic bull was standing on 1 leg only. When 3/4 of the population, now this 3/4, when 3/4 of the population of the whole world become religious, the situation is converted to hell for the animals. In the age of Kali, godless civilization will create so many so-called religious society in which personality of Godhead will be directly or indirectly defied. And thus faithless societies of man will make the world uninhabitable. For the saner section of people, the people who are sane, cannot really be easily practicing their religious practice because of these people. There are gradation of human being in terms of proportionate forth in the. This is a different language Prabhupada is using for the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. Srila Prabhupada, There are gradation of human being in terms of proportionate faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So generally we read according to the faith there are, say, Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttam Adhikari. But here Srila Prabhupada is using the word gradation of faith for the first class faithful men are Vaishnava and the Brahmanas, and then there are Kshatriyas, and then Vaishyas and Shudras, and then Malishas and Javanas, and the last Chandal. So this is according to their faith in God. This is a different classification by Prabhupada in this purpose. The degradation of the human instinct begins from the Malishas. And the Chandal is a state of life in the last word, in the human degradation. So they are the lowest. All the above terms mentioned in the Vedic literature are never meant for any particular community or birth. Now Prabhupada is speaking something philosophy. This is not according to birth. They are different qualifications of human beings in general. There is no question of birthright or community. One can acquire the respective qualification by one's own effort, and thus a son of Vaishnava can become a Malecha, or a son of Chandal can become a more than a Brahman. All in terms of their association and intimate relation with Supreme Lord. So two criteria. With what type of people he is associating and how much he has intimate relation with Supreme Lord. That will determine whether the person is of high faith or low faith. Meat eaters are generally called Malecha. But all meat eaters are not Malechas. Those who accept meat in terms of scriptural injection are not Malecha, but those who accept meat without restriction are called Malechas. Beef is forbidden in the scripture, and the bull and cows are offered special protection by the followers of the Vedas. But in this age of Kali, people will exploit the body of the bull and cows as they like, and thus they will invite suffering of various types. The people of this age will not perform any sacrifice. The Malaysia population will care very little for performance of sacrifice, although performance of sacrifice is essential for persons who are materially engaged in sense enjoyment. It means karma kanda, fruitive activities. In Bhagavad Gita, now Srila Prabhupada, this rest of the purport is paraphrasing the verse 14 to 16 of 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This is the whole cycle of sacrifice. Anad bhavati bhuta bhutani prajannadan sambhavaha yagnad bhava. Then yagna comes from Veda. Veda comes from Supreme Lord. Perform this cycle. This is the whole thing is paraphrasing these verses. Living beings are created by the creator Brahma. This is the verse. Saha yagnaha srishtaha provacha prajapati anena prasa vishwadvam ishtva ishtakamaduk. This is the verse. And just maintain the creator living being progressively towards the path back to Godhead. The system of performing sacrifice is also created by him. This in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada, Prajapati, here it is Prajapati is Brahma. In Bhagavad Gita, the Prajapati is Krishna. And then Prabhupada has given a one verse from Bhagavatam. The Krishna is Pati for everything, which may be Praja also. But here the Prajapati is Brahma for this verse. The system is this: living being live on the production of gram. Anad bhavati bhutani. Once Prabhupada was asked in some Western world, what is the use of Bhagavad Gita, which is 5,000 years old? Prabhupada quoted this verse. People subsist on grains, and grains are produced by rain. Is it not valid now? So this is what Prabhupada is writing. Vegetables and eating such food, they get vital power of the body in the shape of blood and semen. And from the blood and semen, the living being is able to create another living being. But the production of grain, grass, etc. become possible by rain, and the rain is made by shower properly by performance of recommended sacrifice. And such sacrifice is direct rites by the Vedas, Sham, Yajurved, Rigved, Athurved. The word is Brahma. Brahma means Veda. In Manu Samriti it is recommended that by offering the sacrifice on the altar of fire, the sun god is pleased. And what the sun god will do? When the sun god is pleased, he properly collects the water from the sea. Clouds collect on the horizon and rain falls. After sufficient rainfall, there is a sufficient production of grains for man and animal, and thus there is energy in living being for progressive activity. The Malaysians, however, make plan to install slaughterhouses for killing bulls and cows along with other animals, thinking that they will prosper by increasing number of factories and live on animal food without caring for performance sacrifice and production of grain. But they must produce grass and vegetables, otherwise the animal cannot live. And to produce grass for the animals, they require sufficient rains. Therefore, they have to depend ultimately on the mercy of the demigod, like sun god, Indra and Chandra, and such demigod must be satisfied performance of sacrifice. This material world is sort of prison, house. As we have several times mentioned, the demigods are the servant of the Lord who sees to the proper upkeep of the prison house. These demigods want to see that the rebel living beings who want to survive faithlessly are gradually turned towards the supreme power of the Lord. Therefore, system of offering sacrifice is recommended in the scripture. So this is for fruitive the people who are interested in fruitive activities. Gradually they will know the authority of the demigod and then the authority of the God. This is sort of gradual discipline for the faithless people, gradually towards supreme. The materialistic men want to work hard and enjoy fruit result for sense gratification. Thus, they are committing many types of sin at every step of life. Those, however, who are consciously engaged in the devotional service of the Lord as transcendental to all varieties of sin and virtues, their activities are free from contamination of the three modes of material nature. For the devotees, there is no need for performance of prescribed sacrifice. Now, Srila Prabhupada is saying, maybe people take this purport and use the demigod worship. So Prabhupada is just warning immediately. For devotees, this is not at all required. For the devotees, there is no need for performance of prescribed sacrifice, because very life of devotee is symbol of sacrifice. But persons who are engaged in fruitive activities for sense enjoyment must perform prescribed sacrifice, because they are the only that is the only means to get free from the reaction of all sin committed by fruitive workers. Sacrifice is the means for counteracting the accumulated sin. The demigods are pleased with when such sacrifice is performed, just as prisoner officers are satisfied when the prisoners are turned into obedient subjects. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, recommended only one yajna, that is Sankirtan yajna, chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, and everybody can take part. And thus both devotees and fruitive workers can derive equal benefit from the performance of Sankirtan yajna. So, verse 21. Arakshamaanaha strihi urvibalam sochase aho purushadyayivartam Vacham devim brahmakule kukarmanya abrahmanya raja kule kulagriyan. Are you feeling compunction for the unhappy woman and children who are left fallen by unscriptural persons? Or are you unhappy because the goddess of learning is being handled by Brahman addicted to acts against the principle of religion? Or are you sorry to see the Brahmins have taken shelter of administrative families that do not respect Brahminical culture? So these are the further symptom of Kali Yuga. In the age of Kali, the women and children along with Brahman and cows will be grossly neglected and left unprotected. Women, children, Brahman, cows and old people also. 5. In this age, illicit connection with women will render many women and children uncared for. One-parent children are very common all over the world. Circumstantially, the woman will try to become independent of the protection of men, and marriage will be performed as a matter of formal agreement between man and woman. In most cases, the children will not be taken care of properly. The Brahmins are traditionally intelligent men, and thus they will be able to pick up modern education to the topmost rank. But Prabhupada is saying something for us. So that children part is over. Now Prabhupada is speaking about Brahmins. Because they are very intelligent. Because they are very intelligent, they can take interest in the modern education, and they will be topper in that too. Top rank. But as far as the moral and religious principle are concerned, they shall be the most fallen. Education and bad character go ill together. But such things will run parallel in Kali Yuga. The administrative heads as a class will condemn the tenets of the Vedic system. Means Kshatriya will not respect Vedic wisdom and will prefer to conduct the so-called secular state. Prabhupada is speaking of the India in 65 when he's writing this purport in 64-5. And the so-called educated Brahmins will be purchased by such unscrupulous administrators. Even a philosopher and writer of many books on religious principle may also accept an exalted post in the government, which denies all moral codes of Shastra. So these are the type of Brahmins are acting as servant to the administrator rather than guiding them. And they manipulate all these scripture to the will of the administrator. Or other Brahmins will be highly posted technocrats, but without morality. The Brahmins are specifically restricted from accepting such services. But in this age, they will not only accept service, but they will do so even if it is of meanest quality. Paid check is not a Brahman. These are some of the symptoms of Kali Yuga which are harmful to the general welfare of human society. Next. Kim kshatra bandhum kalino upasrishtan rashtrani va tairaha varopat vara upitani itastato vas vasanapana vasaha vasanapana vasa snana vayoro punamukha jivan loka jiva lokam. The so-called administrator are now bewildered by influence of age of Kali, and thus have put all state affairs into disorder. Are you now lamenting this disorder? Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulation of eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc. And they are inclined to perform such anywhere, everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this? Are women not protected by their husband? A previous verse. The children not protected by parents. Moreover, they are suffering because of merciless person. They are lamenting apparent learned words. Devim Vacham. In Brahman families of bad conduct, are you lamenting of those noble family who are serving kings who have no devotion to the Brahman? This previous verse. This present verse. There are some necessities of life on par with those of lower animal. They are eating, sleeping, mating, this. And they are the four. These bodily demands are for both the human and being and animals. But the human being has to fulfill such desire not like animal but like a human being. A dog can mate with a bitch before the public eyes without hesitation, but but if the human being does so, the act will be considered a public nuisance, and the person will be criminally prosecuted. Therefore, for the human beings, there are some rules and regulations, even for fulfilling common demands. The human society avoids such rules and regulations when it is bewildered by the influence of age of Kali. In this age, people are indulged indulging in such necessities of life without following the rules and regulations. And this deteriorates the social and moral rules, and is certainly lamentable because of the harmful effect of such beastly behavior. In this age, the fathers and guardians are not happy with the behavior of their children. Why? They should know that so many innocent children are victims of bad association avoided by influence of this age of Kali. We know from Srimad Bhagavatam that Ajamil was one innocent Brahman. Walking down the road, saw a Shudra pair sexually embracing. This attracted the boy, and later on the boy became victim of all debaucheries. From a pure Brahman, he fell down to the position of a wretched urchin. And it was all due to bad association. There was but one victim like Ajamil in those days, but in this age of Kali, poor, innocent students are daily victim of cinemas, which attracts men only for sex indulgence. Nowadays, cinemas are less, but the whole, this mobile, though it has a good use also for the good people, but it is the worst for the victims of Kali. The so-called administrators are all untrained in the affair of Kshatriya, and Kshatriya are meant for administration as a Brahmins are meant for knowledge and guidance. So the word Kshatri Bandhu referred to so-called administrator or person promoted to the post of administrator without proper training by culture and tradition, not education, culture and tradition. Nowadays they are promoted to such exalted posts by votes of the people who are themselves fallen in the rules and regulation of the life. How can such people select a proper man when they are themselves fallen in the standard of life? Therefore, by the influence of age of Kali, everywhere, politically, socially or religiously, everything is topsy-turvy, upside down. And therefore, for the sane man, it is all regrettable. Two more verses. Yadambate bhuri bharavatara kirtvavatara saharera dharitri antarhitas. Artha. Supreme Personality Godhead Hari incarnated himself as Lord Krishna just to unload your heavy burden. All his activities here are transcendental, and they cement the path of liberation. Are you now bereft of his presence? You are probably now thinking of those activities and feeling sorry in their absence. This is the real question. The activities of the Lord include liberation, but are more relishable than pleasure derived from nirvana or liberation. So Srila Prabhupada is discussing something that liberation is not liked by devotees. So nirvana means liberation. According to Srila Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the word used here is nirvana, vidambitani. That means minimize the value of liberation. To attain nirvana liberation, one has to undergo severe type of tapasya, austerity. But the Lord is so merciful that He incarnated to diminish the burden of earth. Simply by remembering such activities, one can defy the pleasure derived from nirvana and reach the transcendental abode of the Lord, to associate with Him, eternally engage in His blissful loving service. So nirvana is lower than serving the Lord and remembering His activities. Last verse of question by Dharma, and then the last section is Mother Earth will describe the separation from Krishna, and therefore she is lamenting. Idam mama chakshvehe tavadhimulam vasundhare yena vikrasitasi kalena vate balinam baliyasa surachitam kim hirtamam vaso bhagam. Mother, you are the reservoir of all riches. Please inform me of the root cause of your tribulations by which you have been reduced to such a weak state. I think that the powerful influence of time, which conquered the most powerful, might have forcibly taken away all your fortune, which was adored even by demigods. By the grace of the Lord, each and every planet is created fully equipped. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. So, not only is the earth fully equipped with all riches for the maintenance of its energy, but also when the Lord descends on the earth, the whole earth becomes so enriched with all kinds of opulence that even the denizen of heaven worship it with all affection. But by the will of the Lord, the whole earth can at once be changed. He can do and undo things by His sweet will. Therefore, no one should consider himself to be self-sufficient or independent of Lord. Everybody is dependent upon the Lord. Now, the last section of this chapter. Dharani Uvacha, Mother Earth says, Bhavan hi veda tat sarvam yanamam dharmanuprachasi chaturabhir vartase yenaha padai loka sukha vahi. Earthly deity in the form of cow thus replied to the personality of religious principle in the form of bull, O Dharma, whatever you have inquired from me shall be known to you. I shall try to reply all those questions once you too were maintained by your four legs, and you increase happiness all over the universe by mercy of the Lord. The principal religion are laid down by the Lord Himself. Dharma tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. This is the verse from 6th canto of Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter. And executor of such laws, Dharmaraj or Yamraj. Such principle work full in the age of Satya Yuga. In the Treta they are reduced to fraction of 1/4. Dwapar they are reduced by half. And by Kali Yuga they are reduced by 3/4. And then it comes to 0. Then devastation takes place, means pralaya. Happiness in the world depends proportionally on the maintenance of the religious principle, individually and collectively. Individually, personally, and collectively means by the kingdom. The best part of the valor is to maintain the principle despite all kinds of odds. Thus one can be happy during the span of life and ultimately return back to Godhead. And now the next set of verses, these are the different numbering of the good qualities which are only present because of the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Satyam, Socham, Daya, Kshanti, most of the words you know. Tyagaha, Santosha, Arjavam, Shamo, Damas, Tapas, Samya, Titikshvahar, Pitashrutam, Jnanam, Vikrater, Aishwaryam, Shauryam, Tejo, Balam, Smrti. So you read all this and then the Prabhupada has named all these up till 40. And many other transcendental qualities which are eternally present and never to be separated from Him. So they are all the qualities. When Lord is there, these qualities are there. That personality of Godhead, these are all good qualities, beauty. Lord Krishna has now closed His transcendental pastime on the face of earth. In His absence, the age of Kali has spread its influence everywhere. So I am sorry to see this condition of existence. So these are the many qualities here. Chakravarti Pad writes, you know all about Dharma since you are Dharma personified. Though I know, I want to hear from your mouth. Dharma is saying. Therefore she speak. You know Dharma because which you exist with 4 legs. Because of which you exist 4 legs. Present sense is used since the condition is near the present. The sentence continues till verse 31. Satyam means speaking about things as they are. Shocham means purity. So these are the words which have the different meanings. And Lord say also, this is Bhagavad Gita, or this is Bhagavatam. Mam bhajanti gunaha sarve nirgunam nirpekshakam sohirdam priyamatmanam samya sangadya gunaha. All superior qualities which are eternal, such as equality to all beings and attachment to my devotees reside in me, who am beyond the material guna, not dependent on material qualities, and the friend of my devotees giving love to them. So this verse is quoted that all these good qualities are because of Supreme Lord. Thus, though the Lord is beyond the guna, he possesses qualities, greater qualities, which are spiritual beyond matter, arising from his swarup. Even during universal destruction, these qualities do not disappear. Na viyanti. If they continually reside in Krishna, even during final destruction, then the qualities just listed must all be eternal. If they are eternal, the object in which they exist must be eternal. Thus the pastime and participant in the pastime, the places of pastime and all the ingredients are eternal. So Krishna, his devotees, his pastime places are all eternal. Now Srila Prabhupada's purport. Even if it were possible to count the atom after smashing the earth into powder, still it would not be possible to estimate the unfathomable transcendental qualities of the Lord. It is said that Lord Anantadev has tried to expound the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord with his numberless tongues and that of the numberless ears together. It has been impossible to estimate the qualities of the Lord. The above statement of the qualities of Lord is just to estimate his qualities as far as human being is able to see him. But even if it is so, the above qualities can be divided into many subheadings. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the third quality, intolerance of another's happiness, can be subdivided into protection of surrendered souls. Number 2, well wishes for devotees. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord stated that he wants every soul to surrender unto him only. And he assures everyone that if one does so, he will give protection from the reaction of all sins. Unsurrendered souls are not devotees of the Lord, and thus there is no particular protection for everyone in general. For the devotees, he has all good wishes, and for those who are actually engaged in loving transcendental service of the Lord, he gives particular attention. He gives the direction to such people, pure devotees, to help them discharge their responsibility on the path back to Godhead by equally. Now the next quality, by equally, number 10 quality. The Lord is equally kind to everyone, as the sun is equal, is actually distributing rays over everyone. Yet there are many who are unable to take advantage of sun's rays. Similarly, the Lord says that surrendering unto him is the guarantee for all protection from him. But unfortunate people are unable to accept this proposition, and therefore they suffer from all material miseries. So even though Lord is equally well-wisher to everyone, the unfortunate living being, due to bad association only, is unable to accept his instruction in toto. And for this the Lord is never to be blamed. He is called the well-wisher for the devotee only. He appears to be partial to his devotee, but factually the matter sets on living beings to accept or reject the equal treatment of Lord. The two, in one word, the whole purport is Krishna is impartially partial. He is impartial in bestowing his mercy, but he is partial to the devotees who accept his mercy. So he is impartially partial. He is impartial in giving opportunity to everybody to surrender. But those who surrender, for them he is partial. So Krishna is impartially partial. So Lord never deviated from his words of honor. When he gives assurance for protection, Konte pratijani name bhakta pranashyati, then he protects. It is the duty of pure devotee to be fixed in the discharge of the duty entrusted to him by Lord, and Lord's bona fide representative, the spiritual master. The rest are carried out by Lord without break. So the responsibility of Lord is so unique. Lord has no responsibility because all his work is done by his different appointed energy, but still he accepts voluntary responsibility in displaying different roles in his transcendental pastime. As a boy, he was playing the part of cowboy. As a son of Nanda Maharaj, he discharged responsibility perfectly. Similarly, when he was playing the part of Kshatriya as a son of Maharaj Vasudev, he displayed all the skill of martially spiritual Kshatriya. In as for all cases, the Kshatriya king has to rescue, secure a wife by fighting or kidnapping. This sort of behavior for Kshatriya is praiseworthy in the sense that Kshatriya must show his power of chivalry to his would-be wife so that the daughter of the Kshatriya can see the valor of her would-be husband. Even personally Godhead Ram displayed such a spirit of chivalry during his marriage. He broke the strongest bow called Haradhanur. Shiva Dhanush, Hara. And he achieved the hand of Sita Devi, the mother of all opulence. The Kshatriya spirit is displayed during marriage festival, and there is nothing wrong. In such fighting, Lord Krishna discharged such responsibilities fully because, although he has more than 16,000 wives, in each and every case he fought like a Shiva Kshatriya and thus secured a wife. To fight 16,000 times to secure 16,000 wives is certainly possible only for Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, he displayed all full responsibility in every action of his different transcendental pastimes. The 14th quality, knowledge, can be further extended into 5 subheadings, namely intelligence, gratefulness, power of understanding and circumstantial environment of place, object and time, desh, kal, patra, perfect knowledge of everything, and knowledge of the self. So knowledge only has a 5 subdivision by Jiva Goswami. Only fools are ungrateful to their benefactors. To be grateful, very important. Intelligence, gratefulness, second is very important. Kritagya. The Lord, however, does not require benefit from anyone beside himself because he is full of in himself. Still, he feels benefits by unalloyed service of his devotees. The Lord feels grateful to his devotees for such unsophisticated, unconditional service and tries to reciprocate by rendering service. Although the devotees also has no such desire in his heart, the transcendental service of the Lord is itself a transcendental benefit for the devotee, and therefore the devotee has nothing to expect from Lord. On the assertion of the Vedic aphorism, Sarva Khalva Idam Brahm, everything is Brahm, we can understand the Lord by the omnipresent rays of his effulgence called Brahma Jyoti is all pervading. So, how Lord is all pervading? As Brahma Jyoti. Thus he is omniscient everywhere. He is all powerful. As far as the beauty of Lord is concerned, he has some special features that distinguish him from all other living beings, and over and above, he has some special attractive features by which he attracts the mind of even Radharani, the topmost beautiful creation of the Lord. He is known therefore as Madan Mohan, conqueror of the Cupid, or one who attracts the mind of even a Cupid. Sri Jiva Goswami Prabhu has scrutinizingly analyzed other transcendental qualities of the Lord and affirmed that Lord Krishna is the absolute Supreme Personality, guided par Brahm. He is omnipotent by his inconceivable energies, and therefore he is the Yogeshwar, or the Supreme Master of all mystic power. Being the Yogeshwar, his eternal form is spiritual, a combination of eternity, bliss and knowledge, Satchidanand. The non-devotees class cannot understand dynamic nature of his knowledge because they are satisfied to reach up to the eternal form of knowledge. All great souls aspire to be equal in knowledge with him. This means that all other knowledge is ever insufficient, flexible, and measurable, whereas knowledge of the Lord is ever fixed and unfathomable. Comparison of knowledge and the people. Knowledge of the Lord and knowledge of the people. Srila Sutta Goswami affirmed in the Bhagavatam that although he was observed by the citizens of Dwarka every day, they were ever increasing anxious to see him again and again. The living beings can appreciate the qualities of Lord as the ultimate goal, but they cannot attain the status quo of such quality. This material world is a product of Mahat Tattva, which is a state of Lord's dreaming condition in his Yoga Nidra. mystic slumber in the casual ocean, Karanodakshaya Vishnu. And yet the whole creation appears to be factual presentation of his creation. This means that Lord's dreaming conditions are also factual manifestation. He can therefore bring everything under his transcendent control, and thus whenever and wherever he does appear, he does so in his fullness. The Lord being all that is described above, maintains the affairs of creation, and by his so doing, he gives salvation even to his enemies who are killed by him. He is attractive even to the topmost liberated souls, Atmaram. And thus he is worshipable even by Brahma and Shiva, greatest of all demigods. Even in his incarnation as Purusha Avatar, which means Karanodakshaya, Garbhodakshaya and Kshirodakshaya, he is the Lord of the creative energy, means Mahat Tattva. The creative material energy is working under the direction as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Diksha and Prakriti Suyate Se Charachana. He is the root cause of innumerable incarnation in all universes. There are more than 500,000 incarnations of Manu. These are called Manvantar Avatar. One day of Brahma is called Kalpa, and one day of Brahma has 14 Manu. And each Manu, there is one incarnation of Lord called Manvantar Avatar. So one day of Manu, 30 days of Manu is 1 month, and 12 such months is called to 1 year, and such 50 years of Brahma are over by now, and 50 more years will go. So Prabhupada is counting, these are Manvantar Avatar. There are more than 500,000 incarnations of Manu in only one universe, beside other incarnations in different universes. In the spiritual world, however, beyond the Mahat Tattva, there is no question of incarnation. So there is no question of incarnation beyond Mahat Tattva, means only in material world there is incarnation. But there are plenary expansion of Lord. But in the Vaikuntha there are Narayan, which are expansion. The planet in spiritual sky are at least 3 times the number of those within the human. So Mahat Tattva is 1/4, and the spiritual planet is 3/4. Ekpad and Tripad Vibhuti. So all the Narayan form of Lord are but expansion of his Vasudev feature. Vasudev, Sankrishna, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. So Vasudev expand as Narayan in Vaikuntha. And thus is Vasudev, Narayan and Krishna simultaneously. Now Prabhupada is quoting one verse. Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayana Vasudev. So everything is included in one. 31. I am thinking about myself also, Mother Earth says, O best amongst the demigod, Dharma. About you also, as well as about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Pitralok, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of one ashram. So I am concerned for all these. Atmanam nanu sochami bhavantam cha amarutam. Amarutam means demigods. Devan pitrim rishin sadhun sarvan varnams tatha ashramam. Very simple. Somebody should read Srila Prabhupada's purport, please. Yes.
To effect the perfection of human life, there is a cooperation between men and demigod, sages, denizens of Loka, devotees of the Lord, and the scientific system of Varna and Ashrama order of life. The distinction between human life and animal life therefore begins with the scientific system of Varna and Ashrama, guided by the experience of the sages in relations with the demigods, gradually rising to the summit of re-establishing our eternal relation with the Supreme. Absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. When God made Varnashram Dharma, which is strictly meant for developing animal consciousness into human consciousness, and human consciousness into godly consciousness, is broken by advancement of foolishness, the whole system of peaceful and progressive life is at once disturbed. In the age of Kali, the first attack of venomous snake strikes against the God-made Varnasma Dharma, and thus the person properly qualified as a Brahmana is called Shudra. The Shudra by qualification is passing as a Brahmana, all on a false birthright claim. To become a Brahmana by a birthright claim is not at all bona fide, although it may be a fulfillment of one of the conditions, but the real qualification of a Brahmana is to control the mind and the senses and to cultivate tolerance, simplicity, cleanliness, knowledge, truthfulness, devotions and faith in Vedic wisdom. In the present age, considerations of the necessary qualification is being neglected and the false birthright claim is being supported even by a popular sophisticated poet, the author of Ramcharitra Manas. This is all due to the influence of age of Kali. Thus, Mother Earth, represented as a cow, was lamenting the regrettable conditions. Hare Krishna.
So, this is only the one comment by Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavatam about Tulsidas Ramcharitamanas. That birthright Brahman is supported in that book. But even on Radha Ashtami in America, one day Srila Prabhupada spoke about one verse of Ramcharitamanas in America. So only from one angle of vision, that Brahman, say here, this one line I am reading again, to become a Brahman by a birthright claim is not at all bona fide, although it may be a fulfillment of one of the conditions. It means he has more chances to be Brahman because he has all the atmosphere around him to learn everything. But if he practices, then he becomes, otherwise he will not. So this controversy is very common even in today, birthright Brahman and qualified Brahman. We are only the temple in Vrindavan where not qualified Brahman but bona fide, not birthright Brahman but qualified Brahman are doing puja on the altar. So we are only the one temple in the whole Vrindavan in which qualified Brahmans by quality, not by birth, are doing the puja. So this is something extraordinary. Now the last set of verses. Brahma devaho titham tar apanga moksha kamas tapah samacharan bhagavat patam parpannaha sasri swavasam aravindavanam. Now she is actually glorifying her own glory, that even Lakshmi has not that fortune which I had the fortune when Krishna was walking. Wherever he walking here, he was walking just on me and I am getting his lotus feet. Lakshmi is only getting some time. So, Lakshmi ji, the goddess of fortune, whose glance of grace was sought by demigod like Brahma and for whom they surrender many a day unto personality of Godhead, gave up her own abode in the forest of lotus flower. Lakshmi has given up her abode and engaged herself in the service of the lotus feet of Lord. I was endowed with a specific power to supersede the fortune of all three planetary systems by being decorated with the impression of the flag, thunderbolt, elephant, driving god and lotus flower, which are the signs of the lotus feet of Lord. But at the end, when I felt I was so fortunate, the Lord left. So this is the comparison between Lakshmi, I was more, both are Vishnu Patni. Lakshmi and Bhudevi, Bhudevi is Prithvi and Shri Devi Lakshmi, both are Vishnu Patni. So here, Bhudevi is feeling more proud because wherever Lord walks, he walks on the Mother Earth. The beauty and opulence of the world can be enhanced by the grace of the Lord and not by any man-made planning. When Lord Krishna was present on the earth, the impression of the special sign of lotus feet was stamped on the dust, and as a result of this specific grace, the whole earth was made as perfect as possible. In other words, the rivers, the seas, the forests, the hills, and the mines, which are supplying agents for the necessity of man and animal were fully discharging their respective duties. Therefore, riches of the world surpassed all the riches of the all other planets in three-planet system. One should therefore ask that the grace of the Lord always be present on the earth, so that we may be favored with the causeless mercy and be happy, having all necessity of life. One may ask how we can detain the Supreme Lord on this earth after his mission is fulfilled and he has left this earth for his own abode. The answer is that there is no need to detain the Lord. The Lord, being omnipresent, can be present with us if we want him at all. And by his omnipresence, he can always be with us if we are attached to his devotional service by hearing, chanting and remembering. Kali Kale Name Rupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna is present in the holy name. Wherever holy name is chanted, Krishna is there. There is nothing in the world which the Lord is disconnected. The only thing we must learn is to excavate the source of connection and thus be linked with him by offenseless service. We can be connected with him by the transcendent sound representation of Lord, by Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The holy name of Lord and the Lord himself are identical, and one who chants the holy name of Lord is in an offenseless manner can at once realize that Lord is present before him. Even by the vibration of the radio sound, we can partially realize sound relativity. And by resounding the sound of transcendence, we can verily feel the presence of the Lord. In this age, when everything is polluted by the contamination of Kali, it is instructed in the scripture and preached by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that chanting of the holy name of Lord can at once be free one contamination of and gradually rise to the state of transcendence and go back. See, offenseless chanter of the holy name of the Lord is as auspicious as the Lord himself. And the movement of pure devotee of the Lord all over the world can at once change the troublesome face of the world. This is what Prabhupada has achieved. Only by propagation of chanting of the holy name of the Lord can we be immune from all effect of age of Kali. So, verse 34. O personality of religion, I was greatly overburdened by the undue military phalanxes arranged by the atheistic kings, and I was relieved by the grace of the personality of God. Similarly, you were also in distressed condition, weakened in your standing strength, and thus he also incarnated by his internal energy in the family of Yadu to relieve you. The Asura want to enjoy a life of sense gratification even at the cost of others' happiness. In order to fulfill this ambition, the Asura, especially atheist king, arrested executive heads, try to equip themselves with all kinds of deadly weapons to bring about a war in a peaceful society. They have no ambition other than personal acknowledgement, and thus Mother Earth feels overburdened by such undue increase of military strength. What do you think today? Today, the Mother Earth must be more lamenting than ever. All over the world, there is a military drills going on and so much nuclear war, fear. So, this is the situation which Prabhupada is writing almost 60 years back. In such situation, the personality of God is incarnate to vanquish the unwanted asuras, to re-establish the principle of religion. Okay? Say, Kava sahe taviharan purushotamasya prema avalokya ruchi rasamekta valgu jalpai. Now she is thinking really, who therefore can tolerate the pangs of separation from Supreme Personality of Godhead? He could conquer the gravity and passionate wrath of his sweetheart like Satyabhama by his sweet smile of love, pleasing glance and hearty appeals. when he traversed my surface, I would be immersed in dust of his lotus feet, and dust would be sumptuously covered with grass which appeared like hair standing on me out of pleasure. So she is remembering Krishna's lotus feet stretch as romancha, hair standing on end. Asura Vasara Jnan means made up of persons who were previously king in the demon dynasty. There were chances of separation between Lord and his thousands of queens because of Lord's being absent from home. But as far as his connection with earth was concerned, the Lord would traverse the earth with his lotus feet. So here the Lord is with many queens. They may be separated for some time when Krishna is going to Hastinapur or Mathura. But earth always in connection with Krishna, that she is glorifying her fortune when Krishna was here. Therefore, there was no chance of separation. Earth, when the Lord left the surface of earth to return to his spiritual abode, the earth's feeling of separation was therefore more acute. The last verse of today's, I think last but one. Tayorevam katyotoho prithvi dharmayo tada parikshatam nama rajrishihi praptah prachin saraswatim. While the earth and the personality of religion were thus engaged in conversation, saintly King Parikshat reached the abode of the shore of Saraswati river which flowed towards east. Now, who can tolerate separation from that supreme person whose footprint made my hair stand on end constantly, while he took away the pride and self-control of his queens, who were proud by his loving glance, pleasant smiles, and sweet speech? The previous verse, the last verse. This chapter is over. Now, any question or comment before we go to the next chapter? Yes? Yes, any question or comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhammakana. Prabhuji, in verse 16, it was mentioned something about meat eating as per scriptural regulations or scriptural injunctions. How do we understand that? So scriptures allow for
Yes,
meat eating?
yes. On the black fortnight, offering the goat to the Mother Kali and praying that I am giving. There is a scriptural injection for the class of people. And similarly, the other religious people also have to do sacrifice of the goat or something. That it is, what Prabhupada is actually focusing is, slaughterhouse is harmful. But restricted religious way of meat eating for a class of people, that is not malicious. So he's saying that is not called malicious. So that is only the difference. Yes, we can see there are places, there are definitely incident of meat eating in sacrifices, offering sacrifices in Bhagavatam in many places, yes. Mahabharata, yes. Usually Brahmins were never ever eating, but still there are some places where there are some description in scripture. But for certain class of people, yes, there is. Yes, any other question? What we have actually discussed, the number of qualities actually. That was the lengthy verse, some 40 qualities of earth is describing of the Supreme Lord when he is present on the. So that is the one thing, I think. So the other
Hare
thing,
Krishna.
yes.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So we find the spiritual connection of river Yamuna and river Ganga. But what is the spiritual connections of the river Saraswati?
Well, all the rivers, holy rivers, they are all glorified in scripture. Saraswati Well, most of the Vedas are written at the bank of Saraswati. But even Bhagavatam is at the bank of Saraswati in Badrika Ashram. There's at the bank of Saraswati, Bhagavatam was compiled that you have read in the first, in the 7th chapter, 6th chapter. Say 4th, 5th chapter, where the Bhagavat compiled at the bank of Saraswati. So Saraswati is also, as usually it mixes with Ganga. Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati, there's Triveni Sangam at Prayagraj. But Saraswati was flowing in Kurukshetra also. Kurukshetra is a place where Saraswati was flowing at some time, which has now disappeared. And sometimes this river is now, the river bed of Saraswati is seen, but it has disappeared from this site. But only in Badrika Ashram of Saraswati is still seen. And this is also the bank of Saraswati where the Kapil Dev was born. There is also Bindu Sarovar is called, Saraswati was flowing there sometimes there. So there are some places in India where the mention of river Saraswati is there.
So Saraswati is being revered at so many places, but like Yamuna is the one of the consort of the Lord. Ganga came from Karnodaksha. So is there any similar kind of connections with Saraswati?
I think there is something definitely about Saraswati also. There is something. Anyway, the word Saraswati may be representing Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Saraswati. Because this word Saraswati is used, which when before reciting Bhagavatam we say Namanarayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. That Devim Saraswatim is to the Saraswati river as well as Mother Saraswati. So this is their connection, I think. Oh, we can do. I think we can do a little research about river Saraswati's spiritual aspect. Anyway, good question. Spiritual aspect of river Saraswati. Okay. Any other question? Okay. The next chapter is punishment and rewards of Kali. And this chapter has 4 sections. The first section is from verse number 1 to 16. Maharaj Parikshit, being an idle king, appropriately chastised the Kali. So the first section is Maharaj Parikshit chastising Kali. So first 4 verses, seeing the terrible condition of the cow and bull being beaten by a Shudra, Parikshit speak in deep voice. And the next 5 and 6 verse, Parikshit question the daring of Kali, how he is able to do this, how he dared to do this. And then the rest of the question, Parikshit asked, say generally, he gave the assurance to the bull and cow that they should not fear, and then he will talk to the bull, who has actually given you trouble. So then the next section, from 17 to 27, Parikshit discussed the causes of suffering of cow and bull. And the third section is 28 to 41. Maharaj Parikshit expertly gives residence to the irony Kali, surrender Kali. And the last section, glorious rule of Maharaj Parikshit, 42 to 45. So first 4 verses say Maharaj Parikshit saw at Kurukshetra. So this place where this incident is Kurukshetra. So now we are reading the first verse. Suta Goswami is speaking the first section. Tatra go mithunam raja hanyamanam anahava dandahastam cha vrishlam dadarshe nirpalanchanam. After reaching that place, Maharaj Parikshit observed the lower caste Sudra, dressed like a king, was beating a cow and bull with club. And as if he had no owner. So in 17th chapter, the question and answer between Parikshit and Dharma, and punishment and mercy received by Kali are described. So Sudra wore the marking of the king, which broke the custom followed in Satya, Treta and Dwapar. Srila Prabhupada writes, principal sign of Kali. First couple verses Prabhupada is speaking about more symptom of Kali Yuga. The principal sign of Kali is lower caste Shudra, men without Brahminical culture and spiritual initiation, will be dressed like administrators or kings, and the principal business of such non-Kshatriya rulers will be to kill the innocent animals, especially cows and bulls. So this is the first principal sign of Kali Yuga. Non-Brahminical, non-initiated administrator, and their first business is to administer killing of the cows and bull. Number 2, who shall be protected by their master, the bona fide Vaishyas and mercantile community. So Bhagavad Gita says the business of Vaishya is Krishi, Gauraksha, Vanijyam, agriculture, cow protection, trade. In age of Kali, the degraded Vaishya or mercantile class men are engaged in supplying cow to slaughterhouse. Now, so second symptom is after Kshatriya, the degradation of the Vaishyas. The Kshatriyas are meant to protect the citizen of the state, whereas the Vaishyas are meant to protect the cows and bulls and utilize them to produce grains and milk. The cow is meant to deliver milk and the bull is meant to produce grain. But in the age of Kali, the Shudra class of men are in this post of administrators, and cow and bull are mother and the father, unprotected by the Vaishyas, are subjected to slaughterhouses organized by Shudra administration. So Kshatri and Vaishya, they fall down in Kali Yuga in protecting the cows and bulls. So Vrishnam Mrinal Dhvalam Vihantam Iha Bibhiyatam Vepamanam Padaikena Sidantam Shudra Danditam Taditam. The bull was as white as the white lotus flower, lily. He was terrified by the Shudra who was beating him and was so afraid that he was standing on one leg, trembling and urinating. Mihantam Iva means as if urinating. This means that Dharma standing on one leg was at every moment flowing away. It is a metaphor to express a perishing condition. Trembling of bull indicated the bull did not create an opposition to the action of Kali. Now Prabhupada writes, next symptom of the age of the Kali is the principle of religion, which are all spotlessly white like white lotus flower, will be attacked by uncultured Shudra population of the age. They may be descendant of Brahman or Kshatriya forefather, but in the age of Kali, for want of sufficient education and the culture of Vedic wisdom, such Shudra-like population will defy the principle of religion. And persons who are religiously endowed will be terrified by such men. So now Kshatri, Vaishya and now Shudra, the third one which degrade. And what they do? They oppose the religious principle. They will declare themselves as adherent to no religious principle, secular. And many isms and cults will spring up in Kali Yuga, only to kill the spotless bull of religion. It doesn't mean to kill bull and cow, it means to kill the real religious principle. This ism, that ism. the state will be declared to be secular or without any particular principle of religion. And as a result, there will be total indifference to the principle of religion. The citizen will be free to act as they like without respect to the sadhu, shastra and guru. The bull standing on one leg indicates that the principal religions are gradually diminishing. Even the fragmental existence of religious principle will be embraced by so many obstacles, as if in the trembling condition of falling down at any time. So the first verses speak of Kshatriya and Vaishya, and second verses speak of Shudra, degradation. Verse 3. Gam cha dharam duggam dinam vrisham sudra pada hatam vitsam ashru vadanam kshamam vayasam ichchatim. Although the cow is beneficial because one drew a religious principle from her, she was now rendered poor and calfless. Her legs were being beaten by Shudra. There were tears in her eyes and she was distressed and weak. She was hankering after some grass in the field. He saw the cow giver of the ghee for sacrifice without a calf, suffering greatly, as she was being kicked by the Shudra. The thin cow with tears in the eyes desired the share of sacrifice. Dharam Dugham means giver of the ghee for sacrifice. So, Mother Earth was without calf, Vivatsan. Because the grains, the child of the earth has been destroyed. She had tears in eyes because of destruction of dharma. She was thin because sacrifices were not performed. She desired the share of sacrifice. The next symptom of age of Kali is distressed condition of the cow. Milking the cow means drying the principle of religion in a liquid form. The great rishis and munis would live only on milk. Srila Shukdev Goswami, Prabhupada writes, he goes only in householder to take some milk. And then Prabhupada said, even 50 years ago, no one would deprive a sadhu of quart or two of milk. Every household would give milk like a water for Sanatanist, follower of Vedic principle. It is a duty of every householder to have cow and bull as household paraphernalia, not only for drinking milk but also for delivering religious principles. The Sanatanists worship cow on religious principle and respect Brahman. The cow's milk is required for the sacrificial fire. By performing sacrifice, the householder can be happy. The cow's calf not only is beautiful to look at, but also gives satisfaction to the cow. And so she delivers much milk as possible. But in Kali Yuga, the calf are separated from the cow as early as possible for purpose which may not be mentioned in these pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, for slaughter. The cow stands with tears in her eyes. Shudra milkmen draw milk from the cow artificially and when there is no milk, the cow is sent to be slaughtered. The greatly sinful acts are responsible for all the troubles in the present society. People do not know what they are doing in the name of economic development. The influence of Kali will keep them in darkness of ignorance. Despite all endeavors for peace and prosperity, they must try to see the cows and bulls happy in all respect. Foolish people do not know how one earns happiness by making the cow and bull happy, but it is the fact by the law of nature. Let us take it from the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam and adopt the principle for the total happiness of the humanity. So cow is unhappy. Verse number 4. Prapacha artham arudha kat swaraha paricham megha gambhirya vacha samaropita karmuko. Maharaj Parikshit, well equipped with arrow and bow, seated on the golden embossed chariot, spoke to him, Sudra, with a deep voice sounding like a thunder. So somebody should read the purport.
And
administrative head or king like Maharaj Parikshit with full majestic authority, well equipped with weapons to miscreants, can challenge the agents of the age of Kali, then only will it be possible to counteract the degraded age. And in the absence of such strong executive heads, there is always disruption of tranquility. The elected show bottle executive head, as representative of a degraded public, cannot be equal with a strong king like Maharaj Parikshit. The dress or style of royal.
But by your deeds, you are opposing the principle of twice-born Kshatriya. Who are you to command violence in my presence? I am a king, he says. Since I am the king, how can you be king? I am king because I am wearing the dress of king and acting like one. No, you are Shudra by your action. A real actor imitates the action of another as truly as possible. Because this is the word in the verse which says Natvat. Natvat means like a actor. Read Srila Prabhupada's purport. Yes.
The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are called twice born because for these higher classes of men there is one birth by parental conjugation and there is another birth of cultural rejuvenation by spiritual initiation from the bona fide acharya or spiritual master. So a Kshatriya is also twice born like a Brahmana, and his duty is to give protection to the helpless. The Kshatriya king is considered to be the representative of God to give protection to the helpless and chastise the miscreants. Whenever there are anomalies in this routine work by the administrators, there is an incarnation of the Lord to re-establish the principles of a godly kingdom. In the age of Kali, the poor helpless animals, especially the cows, which are meant to receive all sorts of protection from the administrative heads, are killed without restriction. Thus, the administrative heads under whose noses such things happen are representatives of God in name only. Such powerful administrators are rulers of the poor citizens by dress or office, but factually they are worthless, lower class men without the cultural assets of the twice born. No one can expect justice or equality of treatment from once born, spiritually uncultured, lower class men. Therefore, in the age of Kali, everyone is unhappy due to the maladministration of the state. The modern human society is not twice born by spiritual culture. Therefore, the people's government by the people who are not twice born must be a government of Kali in which everyone is unhappy.
Prabhupada was once supposed to meet the then Prime Minister of India, and he has written that everyone who is contesting for the post of National Assembly must follow the four regulative principles, and they must be initiated. So that's what, according to this purport, how many people presently are actually twice born, are initiated people in the assembly? 0%. And therefore, the so-called people are creating the Kali atmosphere without spiritual culture. Yastvam Krishna gate duram sahagandi vadhanvana. So, socha se asochan resi paharan vadham aharasi. You rogue, do you dare beat an innocent cow because Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the carrier of Gandhi, who are out of sight? Since you are beating the innocent in the secluded place, you are considered a culprit and therefore deserve to be killed. Chakravarti Pad writes, just as you are king of your country, I am king of this time. Thus you do not have powers over me. The king answered in this verse, Before Krishna departed out of sight with Arjun, where were you? I was present, but I did not have power because of fear of them. But I have fear of no one today. True, you are worthy of lamentation. You desire to die today. So this is the insight by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Next, read somebody.
In a civilization where God is conspicuously banished, and there is no devotee warrior like Arjuna, the associates of the age of Kali take advantage of this lawless kingdom and arrange to kill innocent animals like the cow in secluded slaughterhouses. Such murderers of animals stand to be condemned to death by the order of a pious king like Maharaj Parikshit. For a pious king, the culprit who kills an animal in a secluded place is punishable by the death penalty, exactly like a murderer who kills an innocent child in a secluded place.
So anybody who is doing the slaughter in the slaughterhouse in a secluded place, they should be murdered. This is one of the reasons of indiscriminate killing of the cow is one of the cause for the world war, which is approaching very soon, and for the unrest in the world. Verse number 7. Tvam va mrinal dhvalaha paday nyonam padacharan varsharupena kim kachid devo naha parikhedayan. Then Maharaj Parikshit asked the bull, "Oh, who are you? Are you a bull, a white as white lotus, or are you a demigod? You have lost 3 of your legs and are moving on only one. Are you some demigod causing us grief in the form of a bull?" Let that be, Kali is saying. I will think of your first offense for a moment. So Maharaj Parikshit is saying, I will think of your first offense for a moment. Thinking in this way, king then inquired from the bull, "Are you some devata who has come to produce lamentation for us? I have not seen such thinness and suffering even in my dream." At least up till the time of Maharaj Parikshit, no one could imagine the wretched condition of the cow and bull. Maharaj Parikshit therefore was astonished to see such an horrible scene. He inquired whether the bull was not a demigod, assuming such a wretched condition to indicate the future of the cow and bull. Verse 8. Najatu Kauravendranam Dora Dandam Parirambhite Bhutale Anupatante asmin vinate parinam suchaha. Now for the first time in the kingdom, well protected by the arms of the kings of the Kuru dynasty, I see you grieving with tears in your eyes. Up till now, no one on earth has ever shed tears because of royal negligence. You may be king, but we have become miserable now. This the bull is saying. The king then speaks with fiery pride. Except for your tears, tears have not fallen in the land which was well protected by arms of punishment. Read Srila Prabhupada's purport.
Hare Krishna.
Yes?
The protection of the lives of both the human beings and the animals is the first and foremost duty of a government. A government must not discriminate in such principles. It is simply horrible for a pure-hearted soul to see organized animal killing by the state in this age of Kali. Maharaj Parikshit was lamenting for the tears in the eyes of the bull, and he was astonished to see such an unprecedented thing in his good kingdom. Men and animals were equally protected as far as life was concerned. That is the way in God's kingdom. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, yes, people are protecting dogs in their home, but they are killing the cows in the slaughterhouses. This is modern civilization. Ma Suchara, now he's giving, so, O son of Shurabhi, Surabhya, you need you need lament no longer now. There's no need to fear this low-class Shudra. And O mother cow, as long as I am living as a ruler and subduer of all the envious men, there's no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you. So he's giving now the encouragement in miserable condition. O son of Surabhi, do not lament. Do not have fear. I will kill him now. He then speaks to the cow. Mai Shastri means while I am living as a punisher. Protection of bull and cow and all other animals can be possible only when there is a state ruled by an executive head like Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit addresses the cow as mother. For he is a cultured, twice-born Kshatriya king. Shurabhi is the name of cow which exists on a spiritual planet or especially reared by Lord Sri Krishna himself. Planet, as men are made after these are good lines to remember Prabhupada's purport. As men are made after the form and feature of the Supreme Lord, so also the cows are made after the form and feature of the Surabhi cow in the spiritual kingdom. In the material world, the human society gives all protection to the human being, but there is no law to protect descendant of Surabhi. Who can give all protection to man by supplying miracle food, milk? But Maharaj Parikshit and the Pandavas were fully conscious of the importance of the cow and bull, and they were prepared to punish the cow killer and all chastisement, including death. There was sometimes been agitation for the protection of cow, but for want of pious executive head and suitable law, the cow and bull are not given protection. The human society should recognize the importance of cow and bull and thus give all protection to these important animals, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit. For protecting the cows and Brahminical culture, the Lord, who is very kind to the cow and Brahman, Go Brahman Hitai, will be pleased with us and will bestow upon us real peace. Now this is a principle. This verse number 11 is a principle. Yasya rashtre praja sarvaha trasyanti sadve asadubhihi tasya matasya nashyanti kirti ayu bhago gati esha rajna paro dharmo hay arta nam arti nigraha at enam vadishyami bhutadram asatamam, the worst among the non-devotees. O chaste one, O chaste one, king's good name, duration of life and good rebirth vanishes when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreant in his kingdom. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the suffering of those who suffer. Therefore I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living beings. But if you kill him, this bull is saying, but if you kill him because of us, then we become implicated in killing. Do not do that. Then Parikshit replies, I must kill him for my benefit. It is not because of your request. When there is some disturbance caused by the wild animal in a village or town, the police or other taken action to kill them. Similarly, it is the duty of the government to kill at once all bad social elements like thieves, dacoits and murderers. The same punishment is also due to animal killers, because animals of this state are also praja. Praja means one who has taken birth in this state, and this includes both man and animal. Any living being who takes birth in this state has the prime right to live under the protection of king. The jungle animals are also subject to kings, and they also have a right to live. So what to speak of domestic animals must be punished at once. By the law of Supreme Lord, all living beings, in whatever shape they may be, are the sons of Lord, and no one has any right to kill another animal unless it is so ordered by the codes of natural law. What is natural law? Tiger can kill a lower animal for his subsistence. But the man cannot kill an animal for his substance. That is the law of God, who has created the law. That a living being substitutes by eating another living being. Yes. Thus the vegetarians are also living by eating other living entities. Therefore, laws that one should live only by creating eating a specific animal, living beings as ordained by the law of God. Sri Ishopanishad directs that one should live by direction of the Lord. This is the verse of the Ishopanishad. Isha Vasha Idam Sarvam Jagat Kinchit Bhunjata Bhuj. That is the verse. And there is no need of animal food save and except in particular cases. The illusion king or executive heads, even though sometimes advertised as a great philosopher and learned scholars, will allow slaughterhouses instead without knowing that torturing poor animal deers clears the way to hell for such foolish kings or executive heads. What do you think when some executive head or king read this Bhagavatam, how he feels? The executive head must always be alert to the safety of the praja, both the animal, man and animal, and inquire whether a particular living being is harassed at any place by another living. The harassing living being must at once be caught up and put to death by, as shown by Maharaj Parikshit. I think they will be very against who has written these books, really speaking so, hard and really very open. People of the government are government by people. It means democracy. Should not allow killing of innocent animal by sweet will of the foolish government men. They must know the courts of God, as mentioned in revealed scripture. Maharaj Parikshit quote here, that according to the code of God, the irresponsible kings or state executive jeopardize his good name, duration of life, power, strength, ultimately it's a progressive march towards the better life and salvation after death. Such foolish men do not even believe in the existence of next life. Prabhupada is writing this line. I think somebody can guess if he can, I don't know. While commenting on this particular verse, we have in our presence the statement of a great modern politician who has recently died and left his will, which discloses his poor fund of knowledge of the code of God mentioned by the Maharaj Parikshit. The politician was so ignorant of the code of God that he writes, I do not believe in any such ceremonies, and to submit to them, even as a matter of form, would be hypocrisy and an attempt to delude ourselves and others. I have no religious sentiment in this matter, Who is that politician? Anybody can guess? I don't know.
Jawaharlal Nehru.
I think this is the good educated guess, because Prabhupada was going at that time, Prabhupada wrote to the next Prime Minister, Shastri. Shastri was the next after Jawaharlal Nehru, right? Who was the Prime Minister after Jawaharlal Nehru? Lal Bahadur Shastri, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Huh? Yeah, because Prabhupada was presenting this to Lal Bahadur Shastri. It means when he was writing, the person who departed was definitely that politician. Contrasting this statement of great politician in the modern age with those of Maharaj Parikshit, we find a vast difference. Maharaj Parikshit was pious according to the scriptural code, whereas the modern politician goes by his personal belief and sentiments. Any great man of the material world is, after all, a conditioned soul. He is bound by his hands and feet by the ropes of material nature. And still the foolish conditioned soul thinks of himself as free to act by his whimsical sentiments. The conclusion is that people in the time of Maharaj Parikshit were happy and the animals were given proper protection, because the executive heads was not whimsical or ignorant of God's law. Foolish, faithless creatures try to avoid the existence of God and proclaim themselves secular at the cost of valuable human life. Prabhupada is so rough about even in his 60s when he's writing these purports, he was so upset with the government at that time. What do you think today, how far things has been deteriorated? The human life is especially meant for knowing the signs of God, but foolish creatures, especially in this age of Kali, instead of knowing God scientifically, make propaganda against religious belief, as well as the existence of God, even though they are always bound by the law of God, by the symptom of birth, death, old age. So anyway, these purports are really boldness of Srila Prabhupada as a real sadhu, not flattering the government or anybody else. He was straightforward. He was a man of God and working to bring people back to the God consciousness. That was his really motto. So next verse, Maharaj Parikshit repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus: O son of Surbi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of king who are obedient to the laws of Supreme Personal Godhead Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. Krishna anuvarnitam. Krishna anuvartinam. Those were followers of Krishna. So read Srila Prabhupada's purport. Yes, Prabhu? I think we should read up till verse 16, that will be nice.
The kings or the executive heads of all states
Yes, must know the code of Lord Krishna, generally Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and must act according.
Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and must act accordingly in order to fulfill the mission of human life, which is to make an end to all miseries of material conditions. One who knows the codes of Lord Krishna can achieve this end without any difficulty. In the Bhagavad Gita, in a synopsis, we can understand the codes of Godhead, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the same codes are explained further. In a state where the codes of Krishna are followed, no one is unhappy. Where such codes are not followed, the first sign is that 3 legs of the representative of religion are cut off, and thereby all miseries follow. When Krishna was personally present, the codes of Krishna were being followed without question, but in his absence, such codes are presented in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam for the guidance of the blind persons who happen to be at the helm of all affairs.
So what Prabhupada wanted actually that Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam should be the guideline for the actually administrators of the ruler of the country. So he personally gave Bhagavatam to the then Prime Minister of India, Lal Bahadur Shastri, actually, and he wrote letters to him somehow to help him, transfer some donation from India to America to build first temple in America. So anyway, he was writing. Srila Prabhupada was approaching all the head of these states wherever he went. Wherever he went and wherever he was there, it was his desire to actually preach to the. If one king you convert like Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, and before them somebody preached to the king of the Tripura, or before that the king of Manipur, the whole kingdom was Vaishnava. So actually our preachers should really focus. I was really thinking for a couple days I was thinking they should be like we have ISKCON Youth Forum, ISKCON Girls Forum. We should have ISKCON Royal Forum, where the old kings actually of the different states of the India, they have at least those have some definitely royal instinct in them, and if they are really cultivated in the future, they should be ruling the government. Those who are really Kshatriya in the spirit. So we should ISKCON should have a what's called ISKCON Royal Forum, ISKCON IRF, and all the really old monarch, their descendants, they have the legacy, and somehow they are in Vrindavan. There are all ghats, and all these are made by the kings of different states around Vrindavan. All ghats, all these, most of the temples, they are made. Gwalior temple, this is temple of, say, the so and so king. So I think there is a need of preaching to a different class of people generally. Next, Akhya hi Varsh Bhadram Sadhunam Akrita Gasam Atmavairupya Kartaram Parthanam Kirti Dushanam. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore, I wish all good to you. Please tell me of the perpetrator of these mutilation, mutilation, which blackmail the reputation of son of Pritha. If you tell me, I will kill that person. I have nothing to say. Bull, oh bull, you who are good-natured and offenseless, are auspicious and happiness in suffering. But tell me the criminal who is spoiling the name of the Pandavas. Who is the person who is disfigured? Who disfigured you by cutting your legs? Srila Prabhupada's purport. Please read.
The reputation of the reign of Maharaj Ramchandra and that of the kings who followed in the footsteps of Maharaj Ramchandra, like the Pandavas and the descendants, are never to be forgotten, because in their kingdom offenseless and honest living beings were never in trouble. The bull and the cow are symbols of the most offenseless living beings, because even the stool and urine of these animals are utilized to benefit human society. The descendants of the sons of Pritha, like Maharaj Parikshit, were afraid of losing their reputations. But in the modern days, the leaders are not even afraid of killing such offenseless animals. Herein lies the difference between the reign of those pious kings and the modern state ruled by irresponsible executive heads without knowledge of the codes of God. Hare Krishna.
Jane anagasya gam yonjan sarvato asya chamad bhavyam sadhunam bhadram eva syat asadho damane krite. Whoever causes offenseless living being to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreant, one automatically benefits the offenseless. By telling me who he is, he will have fear of me. But even if you do not tell, under all conditions, he will fear me. He who harms the innocent will fear me by all causes. So, read Srila Prabhupada's purport. I am feeling to finish up till verse 16. Is it okay? I think we are over time.
It's okay, Prabhuji, another 2 verses more.
Yeah, dishonest miscreant flourish because of cowardly and important executive heads of the state.
But when the executive heads are strong enough to curb all sorts of dishonest miscreants in any part of the state, certainly they cannot flourish. When the miscreants are punished in an exemplary manner, automatically all good fortune follows. As said before, it is the prime duty of the king or the executive head to give protection in all respects to the peaceful, offenseless citizens of the state. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful and offenseless, and therefore it is the prime duty of the state to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. Thus, automatically there will be peaceful, offenseless citizens. Then the only duty of the king will be to curb the dishonest miscreants. That will bring about peace and harmony all over human society.
So one thing here about the king is that he should make devotees. Make people devotees. So this is very interesting. Huh? The prime duty of the state is to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. Interesting. Anagahashva iva bhutesho yas agaskim nirahankusha ahartasmi bhujan saksha amritasya syapi sangadam an upstart living being who commit offense by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me. Even though he be dungeon of heaven, with the armor and decoration. Amra means, Amar is called heaven. Saangadam, with the armor. What happens if there are someone stronger than you? Bull is asking this question. Even if the person is a devata, I will cut off his arm at a root with arm band. Actually, there is no person among men and devata who is as strong as me. So read this Prabhupada's purport.
The denizens of the heavenly kingdom are called Amar or deathless, due to their possessing of a long span of life far greater than that of human beings. For a human being who has only a maximum 100-year duration of life, a span of life spreading over millions of years is certainly considered to be deathless. For example, from the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that on the Brahmaloka planet, the duration of one day is calculated to be 4.3 million into 1000 solar years. Similarly, in other heavenly planets, one day is calculated to be 6 months of this planet, and the inhabitants get a life of 10 million of their years. Therefore, in all higher planets, since the span of life is far greater than that of the human being, the denizens are called deathless by imagination. Although no one within the material universe is deathless. Maharaj Parikshit challenges even such denizens of heaven if they torture the offenseless. This means that the state executive head must be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit so that he may be determined to punish the strongest offenders. It should be the principle of the state executive head that the offender of the codes of God is always punished.
Okay, last verse of today. The supreme duty of ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding person and to chastise those who stray from the ordinance of the scripture in ordinary times when there is no emergency. This is some technical word here. What is the use in punishing one person and not punishing another person? This verse answer. He punishes those who are sinful. In the scripture there is a mention of apad dharma, or occupational duty at time of extraordinary happening. It is said that sometime the great sages Vishwamitra had to live on the flesh of dog in some extraordinary dangerous position. In case of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description, but that does not mean that there should be regular slaughterhouses to feed the animal eaters, and that the system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live on the flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of pellet. If anyone does so, the king or the executive head should punish him for gross enjoyment. The regular spiritual injection for different persons engaged in different occupational duties, and one who follows them is called swadharam istaha, or faithful in one's prescribed duties. In Bhagavad Gita, this is the verse. It is advised that one should not give up his occupational prescribed duty, even if they are not always flawless. Such swadharam might be violated in case of emergency, yes, if one is forced by circumstances, but they cannot be violated in ordinary times. State executive head is to see that such swadharam is not changed by followers, whatever it may be, and he should give all protection to the follower of swadharma. The violator is subject to punishment in the terms of Shastra, and the duty of the king is to see that everyone is strictly followed his occupational duty as prescribed in the scripture. Now the bull will speak something that you decide yourself. Somebody say this, somebody say that about the suffering. So this we will discuss tomorrow, and then Maharaj Parikshit will talk to the Kali Yuga and give some places to stay, and then the glories of Maharaj. So tomorrow we will finish this chapter. Any question or comment? Any question or comment?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Dhananjay Prabhu.
Here we see that Parikshit Maharaj first visited all the 8 Varsas and then finally he returned back to his kingdom, and that is where he is on the bank of Saraswati. He is contemplating, seeing this dharma in terms of bull and Mother Earth in the form of cow. So this whole conclusion is based on the visit of all the 8 Varsas and coming back to his own kingdom, or this is only the issue related with his kingdom, because he is back to his own kingdom, and this is all happening at Hastinapur itself, which little difficult to understand, because normally all these wrong things happen away from where the king is there, not right next to the king where he was ruling. So how we understand this?
Actually, he visited all these different tract of land, 8 other Varshas, except along with Bharat Varsha. As I already told, they are heaven on earth. Even there are not much discrepancies is there. So he came to the Bharat Varsha and particularly to this place Kurukshetra, where he saw this scene, which is even not visible to ordinary people. It is because of his own spiritual insight. He can see the bull, the earth, Mother Earth and cow, and the Kali Yuga. Nobody else saw him, but he saw because he understood their language. So this was on Bharat Varsha particularly. But he was the emperor of all the land surrounded by salty ocean, that is Jambu Deep. So wherever in all other Varshas he went, he got the tributes from there. So they were also under his jurisdiction. But the people living there were not much influenced by Kali as the people in Bharat Varsha is influenced. This scene he has seen at Kurukshetra.
Because this Chatur Yoga and Brahma life, 1000 Chatur Yoga, so that all these changes happening at the all entire universe, because it is all inverse in the jurisdiction of Brahma only. So there's Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kaliyug.
Mostly
the changes happening in.
All these ages, their influence on Earth, on the human being which we are discussing, not on the other planets. There must be some influence on other planets, but that is not the discussion under this. In this discussion, it is not other planet or other than human beings. The other human beings has no influence of Kali Yuga. They still follow their rules and regulation. Only the human being, and only on the Bharat Varsha, which means the whole tract of land which is surrounded by salty ocean is Bharat Varsha. So this the changes of the all yuga has influence over this part. I don't know. The other part may have, but that has nothing to do with us. This is for us, the guideline for us.
Yes, okay. Can I ask one more question?
There are some description. There are some description of other planets also. There are description of other planets also in Bhagavatam, but because they are not related to us, we may not relate to it and we may not understand it.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I think already we are late. Maybe tomorrow again we meet. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatrubhyasya kripa sindhu vyaivacha patitanam pavane Vaishnavebhyo.